Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to take apart and reassemble your Spyderco Manix 2. I haven't seen any videos showing how to do this, so I thought I'd make one. So you're going to need two sizes of mini Torx bits, a T10 and a T9. I just have two separate drivers just so I don't have to switch bits around all the time. So first thing you're going to have to do is remove your pocket clip. So obviously you'll notice this is not the standard pocket clip. This is one I took off of a Delica and I stripped the paint off of it just because I thought it fit the knife a little better as far as color and everything else. That's really just personal preference. I do have a cloth down because I think that's better than a wooden table because if parts fall or anything else, they're not just going to bounce around everywhere. They'll stay put, and it keeps things cleaner. And I also have a tin to put screws and things into. So I've got the clip off of there. Next thing I recommend is to tape your blade so you don't get cut. I recommend painter's tape because it won't leave any residue on your blade. This is duct tape, that's just kind of what I had laying around. But I'll always have to clean my blade afterwards. So first thing you're going to do is you will notice that this is a different design on the pivot point from most other knives. You'll take apart liner locks, back locks, a lot of things. And this cage ball lock is also somewhat unique. So you'll remove your pivot screws, and both of your pivot screws are exactly the same on both sides. So remove that one, put it in the tin. And obviously I do recommend when you reassemble this later on that you use blue Loctite, not red Loctite, blue Loctite, to put this back together for your screws, just to really solidify it. However, I'm just not gonna, because honestly I don't have any right now, and it'll work fine without it. And also, before you go any further, this will void your warranty. Just word of warning, so no surprises later on, so you know what you're getting into. But if you drop this in salt water or mud or anything like that, you may not have a choice. So take out these two back screws. The only T10 screws on here are the pivot point. Everything else, including your clip screws, pocket clip screws, are all T9s, which I like that. That it's somewhat standardized throughout. So remove those screws, put them over here, and take those screws out on the other side, and then we'll be in business. Now obviously there's a spring in here, so watch out. Something could spring out, and you don't want parts everywhere. Looking in the dark corners of the basement for parts. I've been known to do that sometimes to myself. So you take this and just lift the side and rotate it and dump your parts out. So this part doesn't come apart anymore. You have your lanyard pipe there, and that's basically pinned or riveted, I think, onto there. There may be a way to take that down further. I'm not aware of it. I'm not going to rip this apart because I don't think I'll be able to get it back together. So that's basically as far down as that goes. There's your G10 scales. So that's that. So just set that off to the side. Now, so it'd be kind of hard to skeletonize that. I don't know, to do anything to that. So just leave that. Now here's your parts. To sort through these, here are your bronze phosphorus bushings. Now, excuse me, just getting over a cold. A lot of people complain about bronze phosphorus bushings being kind of thin on some designs. I know that's a complaint on the Spyderco Tenacious. You know, people when taking apart say, you know, be careful and not to bend them. These ones are thick on the Manix too. There's only one on each side, but you see that these things are pretty robust. I mean, you know, you hear it. It's a thick bushing. You know, I could obviously bend it if I really wanted to, I tried to, but you're not just going to accidentally just, you know, do that. So here is your ball bearing, your hardened steel ball bearing. That, you know, helps your lockup. So don't lose that. That'd be very easy to do. And here's your, well, here's your cage for your cage ball lock. Got some grease in there, but polymer rod and everything. Here's your spring. And the biggest mistake that I found, you know, when I first took this apart, that you can make is putting this in upside down. Because if you see on here, the ball goes in there only one way. It'll go in from that side. You're not going to put it in from that side. So this has to go in, you know, vertically like this. You know, so when it's in the knife, it's sitting like this. Is if you put it upside down, basically what'll happen is you'll open your knife and it'll lock open like a fixed blade. And you'll have a lot of blade play, and it'll just, you know, it won't work. So make sure you get it in this orientation. Now, as I was saying, the pivot, you know, the pivot point is kind of different on this design. This piece goes in right here on your blade. It goes right in there. And I didn't notice that. Don't know what that number is. If it'll focus. 0610? Maybe that's when it was made. That would make sense. So apparently your knife is dated when it's made. It's just not visible from the outside. That's cool. I actually hadn't noticed that, and I've taken this knife apart several times, and I just now realized that. That's cool. So 0610 is when this blade was made, at least. But anyway, so there's, you know, that goes in there, and then the screws come in from each side and go in there. Which I think this is actually a very nice design because as you'll see when you put it back together, you're not sitting there tweaking on the screws as much. So let's start to put this back together. By the way, this is your back piece, you know, that you see, and that's just, you know, the spring goes in there. So the way you put this back together, you open it up like this. You'll notice there is a D, you know, kind of a flat portion cut in there, and there's a flat portion cut in right there that fits in there. It goes in there, and you're going to put your screw in, your pivot point screw, in from the other side. Right on there. Actually, be careful not to cross thread anything. And I just made a mistake, and I make this every time I do this. You have to put in your bushing first. Put that over there. And okay. And obviously, if you're gonna clean your knife or oil your knife, you can, you know, do that in this process. So then you put your screw in. I do that every time. Wow. Okay, so there you are. You have your bushing and everything else in there. By the way, if you're curious what oil to use, I recommend mineral oil because, you know, it's food safe and it won't go rancid, but you know, use whatever oil you like. So then you're going to put this back screw in, and only this back one on here. It's kind of a tricky thing. Not too bad, but sorry guys if I'm ever out of frame. It's kind of hard to film and, you know, do this. Okay, so I put in this back one, just that one, so you know this can still pivot. Now you're gonna put this in with your spring and everything else. Now make sure you know it's facing up as we discussed before. So you basically fit it in there like that and push this down. Make sure you know you don't launch your spring out into outer space. And like I just kind of did, but okay. There we go. It's being tricky on me today. It's not usually this hard. Sometimes it'll cooperate with you, and other times it'll just sit there and fight you. I don't know. Okay, I think I got it. So now that that's in there, you're going to put this screw in. Obviously, you know, if you're like a hunter or somebody out in the field and you're doing this, it's going to be a lot trickier. This is, you know, if you're doing this, it's a knife that you're going to get dirty a lot, and you think you're going to take apart a lot to clean. You know, for whatever use it is, maybe this isn't the best knife for you. This is really one of those knives that I see, you know, taking apart every once in a while in the shop, just for a, you know, kind of a annual cleaning or something. So that's all in. Take your blade and you're going to pull this back while trying to put this on the pivot. So that fits in there like that. So that's what your mechanism looks like. Very cool. I think so, at least. So from here on, all you're going to do is put this bushing right there. Rotate this around, kind of lift it up. Not too much, but just enough to clear over here. Set this back down. Line everything up till it kind of clicks in. And then you're just going to put those 3 screws in. Okay, so I've got these 3 screws in. Now, through this whole thing, I haven't been like crunching down the screws. You know, I've just been tightening them till they're snug. Here, you can basically go in and tighten them all down. Now, still don't, like, you know, put your arm into it and just crunch them, because, you know, you want to be able to take this apart eventually. You don't need it crazy tight. But, you know, tighten them up. Snug them up. On all these screws. You know, use your own judgment. And then on the pivot point here, I was talking about how this is, you know, this is definitely a nice design with those 2 screws and that center kind of pillar, because here you don't have to kind of sit there and kind of tweak it and dink around with it and try to get, you know, the right tension level and everything on here. All you do on here is tighten both these down real tight, and they'll both just go real tight. You're done, because you know that there's nothing to tweak. Let me get the tape off here. I think it's stopping it from closing. As you can see there's some residue on there. So, perfect lockup on here and everything else. I just crunched those both down and it's done. So, obviously put your pocket clip on there. I think you can figure that out. And you're done. So that's how you do it. Hope that was helpful, guys. And, you know, if you have any questions, definitely, you know, ask me in the comments. I'll be happy to oblige you. So there it is, guys. Hope that was helpful, and have a great day.